Hello, world. Welcome to the Women of BSV. We are thrilled today to have as our guest Jon Southurst, intrepid reporter of the Bitcoin scene for years and years, currently the associate editor for Asia of Coingeek, as well as the host of Bitcoin Bridge. Jon, welcome to the conversation.
That was an awesome intro, Rory. Thank you so much. I'm so proud to finally be a woman of BSV.
No, we're so glad to have you, Jon, because you're one of our favourite people in BSV. You always make us smile and laugh. I find you one of the funniest people in BSV, personally. So I am really grateful for your presence on Twitter, I have to say. But I think we're going to start this conversation and just go back a little bit and ask you about your past, because people don't often talk about people's past history on these shows, but we do like to delve a little bit. Can you tell us, like, going back, a decade when Bitcoin first arrived on scene, what were you doing back then, and what's your past history, and how did you find Bitcoin?
Okay, yeah. My history is long because I'm really old, but let me say, let's start around the time Bitcoin started. I was already living in Japan then, and basically, I was just looking for something to do because I was getting very bored with my job. I was a writer and a journalist and everything before I came here to Japan. But in Japan, I was working as an English teacher at a bunch of big banks. That's kind of how I got interested in finance and money stuff, because before that, I had zero interest in finance, economics, money, or anything like that. But then I had to go and work at Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and Merrill Lynch and all those places, and sort of had to learn a lot. And then just after I started that, the financial crisis happened. And I think I was working at Lehman Brothers at the time, and then suddenly there wasn't anywhere to go.
Wow! So you actually got dismissed in the company going down?
Well, I didn't actually work for those places, right? I worked for an agency that sent me around to all those different places, so I got a taste of it all at once. But yeah, it did affect things, and it got really quiet for a couple of years, and that only made me more interested in money and all that kind of thing. And then, I sort of made that leap to Austrian economics and libertarianism and all that kind of thing. And then Bitcoin came along, and it was just kind of a nice segue, I guess, just to step into that. It was like, well,
was it obvious to you, like, as soon as you heard about it, or did it take you a while for it to sink in?
It actually wasn't. I mean, I'd sort of had this notion that there needs to be a native internet currency for a long time, but I didn't know anything about currency or what made it work. And I guess that's the way normies are. Like, they just don't even think about these things. They think, if you want an internet currency, why not just make one? You never think about the power issues and the wealth issues and all that kind of thing that would go along with it. If you give someone the power to create money, that's immense power that they have, almost total power. So they don't just trust that to anyone. And then, so Bitcoin came along, and I didn't really understand anything. Like, I didn't know anything about the blockchain or how it worked. And I downloaded the Qt client, and I was trying to mine it, on my Apple laptop. And I think it was in the pretty early days, but it was it was post the time when you could actually mine Bitcoin on a laptop. But it's still, Bitcoin Qt still had that mine BTC function on it, no, mine Bitcoin. And then after about a week, it's just like making my fans whir, and I had no idea what I was doing. And I'm like, this thing's stupid. Like, I didn't get any Bitcoins. And,
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I think it was probably still downloading the blockchain at that stage.
Possibly, in my case as well. Yeah.
But I had no idea. I didn't even know what it was. So I erased it. I forgot about it for about a year. And then one day I was just listening to I think it was Leo Laporte's podcast, and he was talking to Gavin Andresen. And he talked all about Bitcoin, and I thought, yeah, Bitcoin, I remember that. That's pretty interesting. So yeah, from there I just got into it more, found out about how it really did work, and realized was kind of stupid not to pay more attention to it when I first got it. And yeah, the rest is history.
The rest is history. Just tell us, am I right in thinking you're one of the journalists who was there when Mt. Gox failed?
I was, yes.
Like
Yeah,
on the
I was,
scene, like literally on the spot.
yeah. That's still up there on my YouTube channel. That video of Mark Karpeles and his frappuccino in the snow, and the guy holding his sign, that kind of thing. That was my camera.
Yes, that's your intrepid proof of work there.
It's probably the most famous thing I've ever done in Bitcoin, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it was great because you were
was a
live
big
on the
deal.
scene. Yes.
Yeah.
And now, when you first became an English teacher with all these clients at banks, and you had to learn a new language in English, the finance language. So, just from your memory, what are some of the key words that you remember learning or using the most in that role?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Pretty much, I mean, you just go to any finance and economics dictionary and start at the beginning, and I'd probably never heard of it before. Words like fiscal, monetary, inflation, profits, losses, investments, just anything to do with that. I really had zero involvement with finance or money before then.
Right. That's neat because that's what sticks out from the memory. So I'm just curious about that. Wow. But yeah, you were definitely live on the scene there. And years later, we all saw that video of the guy with the frappuccino. So what ended up happening then? Did you stake out outside of the building?
Yeah, we thought he would just slip in a back door or just not turn up to work or something like that. And we'd been standing out in the snow for about 2 hours. And I was getting cold. I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. We were getting really bored. I was about to go home. And then suddenly Mark pulled up in his Uber and got out. So I thought, yeah, awesome. Finally. All this waiting around in the snow paid off.
I've got to admit, I don't remember the details of the video. Did you actually speak to him, or did you just get him going in?
I was just filming the action because there was a guy who was protesting outside Mt. Gox, and he was holding a sign saying, you know,
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah,
Mt. Gox, where's our money? And I was just there to talk to him. I really didn't expect to see Mark at all. I didn't think he'd show up. So yeah, I sort of went there, got my interview, and I was about to pack up and go home.
Had you invested yourself in Mt. Gox? With Mt. Gox?
Mt. Gox. You mean invested by had an account?
Well, yeah. You know, I mean, did you use the service?
Well, I did, because at the time there wasn't a whole lot of choice. It was either Mt. Gox.
It was Mt. Gox or Mt. Gox. Yeah.
Yeah. And since Mt. Gox was in Japan, it was extremely easy for us to use because it was, you know, local.
And had you played Magic the Gathering before?
I've sat at tables and watched other people play it. I can't say I've ever played it myself.
It was weird, wasn't it? Just to explain for anyone who's not familiar, Mt. Gox means Magic the Gathering, and it was actually like a Magic the Gathering card trading platform, right? And then they converted it into a Bitcoin exchange. Yeah, am I right?
That's right. Yeah, Jed McCaleb started it, you know, the founder of Ripple and Stellar. And it's, I mean, by the time Mark Karpeles took it over, like, it was a Bitcoin exchange. It hadn't been. I don't think it was ever a Magic the Gathering site for very long, but it just had that name. It's really funny. I was working at Rakuten at the time, which is, you know, like the Japanese Amazon, but I was also into Bitcoin, and I had this Bitcoin keychain on my bag. As I was walking out of work one day, this guy gets in the elevator, and he looks like a Fed. You know, he's got the hair, he's got the suit, and he looks down at my chain. He's going, Bitcoin, huh? This is 2012, 2013 or something. I said, oh, yeah, you know it? He said, yeah, I'm with the IRS.
And I'm your worst nightmare.
Awesome, yeah. And then as he got out of the elevator, he pointed back at me and he said, I got one piece of advice for you. Stay away from Mt. Gox. And then the doors closed.
Well, that's interesting. So they were obviously investigating.
Taken that advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was pre-collapse, was it?
this is like a year before it collapsed. So it was.
So you got some insider info from the IRS then, there, really?
I did. Unfortunately, I didn't heed it.
Yeah. Did you lose anything?
I did, yeah. Not the massive amounts that some people lost. I mean, some people lost their whole life savings in it, but I'd kind of only just started buying Bitcoin at that stage. And we had meetups here. If I wanted to buy Bitcoin, I could usually just buy it from another person, but I just wanted to experience the exchange, so I just had a small amount on there. But it was enough to get me into all the creditors meetings, which is good.
Yeah, no, I've been getting paperwork from the creditors stuff for years and years, but fortunately I took my Bitcoin off before it went belly up. So
how did you know to do that?
Sorry, second, how did I know to do that?
Yeah.
Well, I think even back then, not your keys, not your coins was a thing. And I just thought probably keeping it so far away in Japan was probably not best. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm glad I did, because people really lost everything and then got very little of it back over the subsequent 10 years, haven't they? So
at that point in time as well, John, was it knowledge in Japan that Craig was Satoshi
in 2013?
Yeah, not that.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, I first interviewed Craig Wright in 2014, and I had no idea. He was just some guy who had a Bitcoin company. It wasn't for another year or so.
So what was the premise of interviewing him in 2014 then? Was he talking about Bitcoin?
He was talking about tax stuff. I was just looking for people in Asia. I think he was in Singapore and hanging out with some of the Bitcoin people there. And my contact in Singapore said, I know a guy who's starting a Bitcoin company. Would you like to speak to him about tax? That's my big introduction to Craig Wright.
So have you been freelancing as a journalist since then, since you got interested in Bitcoin? Is that...
Pretty much. Because it kind of took off right after I got involved in it. I've been working full time most of the time. First, I worked for CoinDesk for a couple of years. Then after that, I actually worked for Roger Ver at Bitcoin.com. And yeah, after that, then we started our own site that ran for about 2 years, and then finally into BSV and Coingeek.
So what was your own site? What was that called?
My own site, that was called bitsonline.com.
Okay. And is that how you kind of then sort of found Kelvin, and where did the story come from that you realized that Craig was Satoshi, and how did you get involved with CoinGeek? Was that from your site?
Yeah, actually, this is the first time I've had to recall that too. We were doing a lot of Bitcoin Cash stuff. It was after the BTC BCH fork, and yeah, we were kind of neutral on it officially, but unofficially we preferred Bitcoin Cash just because it worked, and we didn't like paying $100 in fees every time we had to pay people, and which was just crazy. And it was that stage that I realized something has gone wrong with BTC. It doesn't work the way it used to. Someone's messed it up. And maybe these Bitcoin Cash people have got a point. So we were doing that for a while. And I mean, I can't recall the exact moment where I believed Craig Wright was Satoshi, because honestly, I did, and then I didn't, and then I did again. It was, I probably did up to the point where he had to do that so-called key signing in front of the BBC and GQ and all those people.
Yeah.
And he kind of lost it at them. And at that point, that was probably the height of my doubt. And it probably was for a lot of people too. But as things went on, I like to not just look at the surface. I like to look at what's going on behind the scenes, because usually that's where the real story is. And yeah, I just came to think, I think this guy is probably more likely to be Satoshi than anybody else. No one else has come forward. No one else has refuted his claim with any credibility. So I thought, yeah, it's probably him.
And I know for a lot of us, that Arnhem speech was the one that really kind of made my kind of radar focus on Craig, because I was like, I know not only does he get it, but he's got so much more understanding and information than anyone else. But he was talking about it in quite moralistic terms, like he wants to change the world for the better. I mean, it's not just cash, right? Electronic cash, and so it was the way he was speaking there that sort of kind of convinced me that, oh right, so this is a person who's actually got like a moral proposition, some moral aims that they're reaching for, and I hadn't heard a lot of other people in Bitcoin talk like that. Not
Yeah.
well, not at all, not ever, I don't think. So it really switched on a light bulb in my head. And then when Ryan was talking about going into BSV with yours.org, that was the moment when I went, oh, well, Ryan's a very smart guy. Okay. And what for you, what do you think that was there like a particular speech you watched or a particular moment when?
Yeah, what was your eureka moment?
Yeah.
I'd say there definitely wasn't a single eureka moment. It was more like a eureka process
A
that
eureka
I went
year.
through. I mean, Ruth, you said the Arnhem conference, and I'd say that was probably a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, watching that, it's really obvious that he knew Bitcoin better than anybody. He couldn't just tell you what it was. He could tell you where it was all going, what was coming up next, that kind of thing. As for BSV itself, I think I'd always relied on a few sort of key people that I really trusted and respected in the industry going into it. And once those people went to BSV, that was when I was kind of convinced that was more the way to go. And also, I went to a Bitcoin Cash conference that didn't have Craig or Calvin, and it was boring. It was really rubbish. And
No, that's a good point, because like love them or hate them, they are characters, aren't they? And they're very fun to be around, I think, and fun to listen
brought
to.
life to the party.
They are. They get the party started for sure.
Yeah.
On all fronts, whether it be business development or literal parties, they're good guys, I think.
Yeah,
They are. And John, this morning I watched your interview with Craig. It was from 7 months ago. And it was a fascinating conversation. And I thought, wow, there's so much to listen to in this space. We have our shows that we're producing, and we have the Bitcoin Bridge that we can listen to of your shows. There's Crypto Bits, there's Joshua Hensley, there's the Numpties. I often feel overwhelmed that there's not enough time in the day to listen to absolutely everyone.
Well, there literally isn't enough time in the day. Like you could watch them from morning to night and still not get through them all.
Even if it's on high speed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a BSV channel as well. I did say that. Give a shout out to Ken as well, because like that's where like, I was hooked into watching the BSV channel.
I love
Satoshi.
Yeah, and then Satoshi as well and everything.
And he's always live, isn't he, Shem?
Yeah, Shem is live most of the time.
I think Shem was the first person doing video full time in BSV. Maybe Connor.
Oh, Connor. Oh my gosh, yes.
So what was the thing? How did you get involved then with Coingeek? Is it basically because of the meetups? It's like, okay, so BCH is now boring because is that where you got involved with them then? It's like you just kind of basically followed them when the fork happened for BSV, or when the fork happened, when we went back to the original protocol and everything, and the Genesis block and stuff. Is that when you took that lead?
I didn't get into BSV right after the fork because we were still doing Bitcoin Cash stuff. And, I didn't really have an opinion. I saw it had split. I had no idea what the reasons for the split were. And because we were working mainly with BCH people, I stuck with that for a while. But then, like I said, I went to the conference and I saw with my own eyes that it was dead. I mean, I'm not saying it's like that now, but just that feeling, after right after the fork, it really felt like a funeral.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I could see where all the life had gone. It had gone to BSV. So I mean, that still didn't convince me that BSV is where I should go. But yeah, like I said, it was people, you know, Neil Booth, Ken Shishido, Ryan, definitely all those people who I'd spoken to in the past, and I respected what they said. I thought, well, if they're in BSV, maybe there's something in this thing.
Definitely. The smartest entrepreneurs seem to get it, for sure.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell us a bit about Japan? Because I've never been to Japan, and I absolutely love it. You know, the iconography of the place, and the, you know, all the cherry blossom, all that kind of stuff. What attracted you to Japan? And tell us a bit about why you moved there and what you like about it.
I always say the reasons I still live here now are probably very different to the reasons I came here.
Mhm.
I mean, the reason I live here now is because I actually can't leave and can't go anywhere else. So I've pretty much got to like it at this stage. I don't know. I came here in 2002 or 3. I just didn't want to be in Australia anymore. I'd lived in Canada for 2 years before that, and then went, and I like that. I like living overseas. And when I went back to Australia, you know, it was novel at first, and then after about 6 months, I thought, this is boring. It's just back to the same old routine again. You know, it's like nothing changed. I got to get out of here. So I started making plans to leave. I didn't have an agenda or anything. Like I just wanted to experience Japan because I'd learned Japanese, you know, all through high school. It was compulsory, actually. It was back in the 80s, you know. It's like your boss is going to be Japanese one day, so you should learn the language, that kind of thing. As it turns out, you know, it's true.
Yeah.
So I have this line of probiotics that I absolutely love. It's called Ascended Health. It's one of the best microbiologists on the planet. But he travels around all the longevity zones and gathers the ancient microbiota from the people and the environments, and he puts them into a supplement form. So everybody with all these destroyed microbiomes, you know, it's like one of the ways to get some of the best, most ancient healing microbes on the planet. But one of those zones is Okinawa, Japan. I don't know if I said that
That's
correctly,
true, yeah.
but I've always wanted to visit there. What's the climate like in Corona world in Japan right now?
Oh, if you're talking about Okinawa, that's lovely. That's the Japanese Hawaii.
Yeah, I want to go there so bad. And
if I could live anywhere other than Tokyo, to be there.
Yeah.
How far is it from Tokyo?
Long. It's like 3 or 4 hours flight away.
Wow.
It's about as far away from the rest of Japan as you can get. You know, it's sort of right out there in the middle between.
So it's an
Japan and
island off Japan. Sorry, I'm like so clueless.
it's like
Once you get outside Europe, I don't know.
It's a place in the world that people are supposedly the happiest and live the longest. So, I mean, something that we should all, you know, research and kind of take note of what they're doing, because they're doing something correctly still, that most of humanity is lost.
Do they have volcanic soil there or anything like that? I don't know.
I don't know all the details. I just knew I was getting a supplement there, those probiotics, and then also there was some coral calcium or something amazing supplement that
perhaps it's just really clean waters and stuff around there, you know, with
clean environment and untainted chemical laden people basically from where.
But they have an amazing culture in Japan, and they you know, their history is sort of epic, and I don't know, they're one of the most ancient civilizations, presumably. Again, I'm talking out my hat. I really don't know.
Wasn't it?
That's accurate.
Yeah.
The king of Japan was the king of the world, wasn't he? According, like, from Japanese history that I know about, there was like the king of England, and then there was the king of Japan, and they both considered themselves to be the king of the world. So that's a bit of it. And I know for a fact there is there are some megalithic structures that are down, I think, on the south coast of Japan, which are underwater, which like is fascinating within itself. And you've got these beautiful kind of mountain areas and volcanoes and woodlands, and literally you've got every kind of geographical formation in the planet in one place.
Really? Okay.
And
That's New Zealand?
the history of the
No,
Japan.
the samurai history is
Similar.
amazing as well. And the like food wise, as far as I'm aware, is very healthy, because a lot of it is sushi and fish, and so you're getting those kind of 369 omega, etc. So
Yeah.
what kind of cuisine do you like? I mean, I'm a mad noodle person. I love noodles.
Come over here and I'll introduce you to some like pretty greasy Japanese junk food.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to come over
Yeah,
and learn
fried
Aikido.
chicken.
I'm so
Really,
into Aikido, the art of deflection in your
Like
fighting.
Steven
I
Seagal.
just think that's such a beautiful way of fighting versus our barbaric cage fights and the stuff we do now, just pulverizing each other in a cage.
Can you actually fight someone with Aikido?
I think it's like if someone's
Probably
coming
offends
at
a
you
lot of
to
people,
fight,
huh?
it's the way of deflecting their energy and using it against them. Like, I don't know, it's just a beautiful thing to watch, and it's always something I've wanted to learn. They opened an Aikido studio right down the street from my house pre-COVID, and like 6 months into COVID, it was gone. I was so upset. I was like, damn it, it's so close. But anyways, that's another part of the Japanese culture that I think they've got it right.
What about you, John? What is the what is it that you admire the most? I mean, because I like the artwork as well is something special.
This is probably dangerous to say this, but I admire their national pride, that kind of thing. They're very happy with who they are. They're very proud of who they are, and I think a lot of places could probably do with some of that.
Yeah.
It's just the way they celebrate their festivals and special days and traditions, and they really get into it. They dress up, they do all the usual rituals, that kind of thing. It's coming from Australia, where no one really cares too much about many traditions. We don't even have Thanksgiving, we don't do Halloween, anything like that. But in Japan, they get into everything, even Christmas. They do everything except Easter, which is kind of funny.
Right. So why do they do Christmas?
They love bunnies.
I mean, what's their religion? Does it have a Christmas in it? I'm sorry, I have no idea.
No, Christmas is just like the commercial Christmas that you see everywhere else.
Okay. So they enjoy it for the sake of the festival. Yeah.
Who is it that has Southern Fried Chicken on Christmas Day as a special?
That's
is that
Japan.
Japan? Is it?
KFC. You can't get KFC on Christmas Day unless you're pre-booked.
The Colonel.
That's mad.
The Colonel is the new emperor.
It is a weird clash, isn't it, of like modernism, like intense modernism versus this ancient culture. So, how do they meet in Tokyo? Does it just feel really ultra modern everywhere that you go, or?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I mean, it did. It doesn't anymore. It just feels like how they say fish doesn't know it's in water. Sometimes I forget that I'm actually in a place like Tokyo, because it seemed wild when I first arrived here 20 years ago, but now it's just pretty normal. If I'm away from here, everything seems slow and broken down and dirty, because I mean,
it's
for
just very clean.
City, it's remarkably clean. Everyone just like washes their car every day, and all the streets are clean.
Are they trying to do mandates there and stuff, or no, with the vaccine?
Not so far, no.
I read.
Are they doing 5G? I'm asking because I'm looking for a place in the world to dip out of. I'm just kidding. Are they doing 5G there real bad, or?
Not yet. I think they probably will, because I can't imagine them not doing that unless there was some reason not to.
Yeah.
They usually like to stay up with the latest tech.
Mm-hmm.
As far as mandates go,
are you seeing the towers go up everywhere like they are here? I mean, everywhere you look now, there's a 5G tower.
I haven't noticed any, unless, I mean, it's Tokyo, so there's like antennas and aerials and
I was going to say,
Right.
it wouldn't be so obvious. I mean,
Funny
where I live,
building
they're really ugly towers,
Yeah.
and they're really
Could be
obvious. They're real
surrounded by them
eyesores.
for all I know.
Yeah.
Right, they'd be decorated. Now, how about parks, John? I know that you're in a real urban environment.
Yep.
So, do you have any ancient trees in parks close to you, or what is the park culture like in your neighborhood?
Oh, there's some pretty amazing parks here. It is a big city, but they do have some pretty spacious areas, like a lot of Central Park style gardens and parks, and there's pretty much anything you want, from the most dire dirt playground with a rusty old swing in it, to a beautiful Japanese garden, as you'd probably picture from your picture books or postcards or anything like that. I mean, it's all here.
We have a
Wow.
botanical garden here that does a Japanese festival every year, and it's just magical to walk through. It's very beautiful.
Really?
All the regalia is everywhere, and yeah, people really go big with our Japanese festival. It's like a week long here at our botanical gardens, but they do the
Yes, I've
thing
been
up with
there.
Japanese culture. It's really beautiful.
St. Louis.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful Japanese garden there.
Yeah.
I
Now,
really love those Zen gardens at the temples down in Kyoto, where they have like the white sand that the monk comes out and rakes into a pattern every day.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Mhm.
rocks in the middle of it, and they do patterns around it. That
Have
we
you not
don't.
got a small one for your desk? You've seen the little ones that you can get.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I have. I'm not sure if I love them enough to have one on my desk. It's the kind of thing I'd just like knock on the floor within about 10 minutes and then start cursing it. And I don't want to curse out a Zen garden.
Seriously. Why not? Now, John, I have to ask. I've thought about living in Japan before, and the main thing is that I'm afraid of earthquakes. And I know that you have very good earthquake-resistant buildings, but I just think, you have tsunamis and you have earthquakes. So how can you raise a family in a place like that? But then I think they have a high population, so a lot of people are doing pretty well raising families there. So what's your experience, having been there 19 years, with just living in a kind of naturally impacted environment?
Well, I've experienced a lot of earthquakes. I can say that. It's it's freaky or not freaky depending on the size of the earthquake and the age of the building you're in. If you're in a building that was built in the last 20 years or so, you're said to be pretty okay. We've had a couple that made me nervous, and like every now and then I'll just be sitting at this desk here and it feels like someone just walked up behind me and like kicked me up the butt in the chair, and what was that? Yeah, some of them are really short and sharp, but that one in 2011 that caused the big tsunami.
Fukushima,
yeah, that was scary. Like I did. I mean, again, it depends on which building you were in. I was actually in a hospital at the time, so I'm not sure if I was worried about it or not, but I was really worried that the building was going to fall down. It shook for about 4.5 minutes.
And you were quite away from the epicenter as well, weren't you?
Yeah, a long way from it, but it was a big one, so they felt it everywhere. People did die in Tokyo from that.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple of buildings fell down.
Yeah, I remember watching it, and I was
see the
horrified.
fires, from the window on the horizon there.
Yeah. There was something that I saw on a video, and it was really weird because it was from a high tower in Japan and it was shaking, but the video was from within and it was looking out over the horizon, and it was the weirdest thing. It was like literally this bright kind of flash, and then just something shot up into the sky, and it was the weirdest thing ever, and I don't know what it was. And it was on a newsreel that I saw this particular clip, and nobody ever said anything about it. But it was so bizarre. It's just like a white flash, and then this just stream of light just shot upwards. Do you remember seeing it? No.
It wasn't Fukushima going up, was it?
I don't know what it was. It was bizarre, and nobody
that happened a few days later.
Yeah, I know the tanks blew up, didn't they? But it wasn't a nuclear explosion. I think it was a a gas explosion, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't like an explosion. It was really weird. But anyway, changing the subject a little bit from that, like the first
Yeah,
time I was
sorry.
introduced to Japanese culture was with Akira, which is the anime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Similar, I'd say.
what do you like anime?
I do. I wouldn't call myself a huge anime fan, and but yeah, I was an anime appreciator. You know, I liked it. I like the style. I like the stories. You know, I thought they were much more interesting and much richer than anything you'd see in a Western movie.
Yeah, they go quite deep with things, don't they?
They do.
Really, a lot of
Yeah.
the time and stuff. Okay, so what about, like, you know, there was some, was it the Omi, which with the NFTs recently, and they were very kind of similar to a lot of anime stuff. Well, at least I thought they were kind of based anime style. So did you get involved with any of the NFTs at all?
If it was an NFT, I probably wasn't involved.
It's not. Okay.
Why
I sort of
not?
get dragged reluctantly into those things.
Is that something you try and avoid then? It's like, let me know, you know, I'll be more about the technology and the economics of things.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing against NFTs, and I got nothing against people trading NFTs, NFT collections. It's just not my thing. And when I see people, you know, like flogging them on Twitter, it reminds me so much of the ICO days. And you know, those days are just so fun.
ICO 2.0.
You do have an NFT of me.
Yeah.
I can't remember if you got the
zombie, I
selfie
think it was.
The
I have
screaming.
NFTs of all of you now after the
it's a
Christmas
screaming.
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
The screaming
were-
banshee. That face
Yeah.
was so awesome.
It was.
I just
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, John. I have a fan. What about origami? Are you into origami? Can you do any origami?
not without a book. Although my son and also my wife are into that sometimes, so we do have a house full of origami stuff. If you
Wow.
look
That's
in the
cool.
other room.
I think it's so clever. I mean, some things that you can make out of a tiny piece of paper are just, the imagination is amazing. And what about like I love bonsais as well, so that's also a Japanese thing, isn't it? Bonsai.
Very much.
Were you a Karate Kid fan back in the day?
Yeah, who wasn't?
Oh, everybody was.
I come from the 80s. It's hard not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
How about Hiroshiga?
Who?
The artist.
Yes.
I'm familiar with him, but yeah, I mean,
Woodblock Prince.
yeah. I know the ones you mean. It's just that sort of classic Japanese.
is it like Japanese calligraphy, but with blocks?
It's like visual
Paintings with woodblocks.
Okay. That's
you know them if you saw them. It's a very distinctive style. Yeah, I kind of like those. I was into that style. But
so did you wear traditional Japanese dress when you got married?
Not when I got married, but I've been to a few festivals wearing something Japanese. Other guys do, you know, they all have their wedding pictures there where they're wearing the kimono. I can show you pictures of me wearing a kimono, but it wasn't at my wedding. It was after that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Shem wore one to the Block Dojo event, didn't he? He looked well smart.
That's right.
I thought he looked really nice. Yeah.
You should wear it all the time.
Yeah. Although he did express a bit of...
it's probably not as easy in London to
No.
wear it.
So you got to go on the
Well,
tube
more
in
reason
it.
to wear it.
I know.
Yeah.
You'd probably get more attention for it if you wore it in London. If you wore it here, people probably think he's strange. But in London, totally do it.
So people don't turn up to board meetings wearing that? No.
Not any board meeting I've been to. Maybe some companies do.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
So what about games then? Because I know there's is it shogi? It's a board game. Do you partake in board games as well of the Japanese cultural traditional games?
I'd have to say no. No,
Okay.
I don't. I'm not again, not against them, but I think if someone introduces you to something like that, I'd get into it, but I haven't been. I know some people who are into that.
And what's your favourite Japanese dish?
Yeah, come on, food.
Japanese dish.
You were going to talk to me about noodle.
And fruit.
You can't really go past a nice hearty bowl of ramen, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all good. It's
You can't say ramen's your favourite dish. There must be
know.
something more
We've all got that.
if it's done
fancy than that. Yeah, I had some ramen yesterday.
I don't mean ramen like the Americans say, just
Yeah.
cup noodle, that kind of thing. Ramen. It is actually a dish.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and of course there's those distinctive local styles and all that kind of thing. I love a big greasy bowl of noodles with some some pork and an egg and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
Chocolate
very
pie.
hearty, very satisfying.
Do they
I'd
do
say so
like
too.
good steak dinners in Japan? I've seen no idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
There's a really famous, very expensive steak, isn't there, in Japan? I mean, like, it's like,
Kobe.
Wagyu.
that's the one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Wagyu. I love Wagyu burgers. There's a farm to table restaurant right down on this historic main street that I go to. They have the best burger I've ever had, and it's Wagyu.
Is that Japanese then? I didn't realise because that's bred around here where I live.
Yeah, they like massage the cows, so they're not full of fear. I think that's really important. Like, we're energy beings, and you consume the energy of the fear of the animal that was, in stress its entire life. So Wagyu meat doesn't have any of that like stress in the meat. I don't know.
I think it's meant to be nice and marbled as well. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's why it's free range is always.
Yeah, it's really good.
Mm.
So going back to BSV, what's your kind of next steps then? Like, like, when did you start as a journalist for Coingeek?
It was when I first came to BSV, I was just hanging out on Twitter mostly. I don't think I even used my real name, but I was talking to Dale Dickens.
Okay, yeah.
From Melbourne, and I'd known her for a while just because
Wild
she's
card.
from Melbourne, I'm from Melbourne,
Yeah.
and we'd hung out there when I'd had a visit there in the past. And then I realized she was in BSV as well because she'd done that very first ever video interview with Craig Wright, which is awesome. And
Is that not Raina?
No, that was
Dale?
It's Dale.
No, Dale did it back in 2013 or
Is
14.
it the Bitcoin.co or something?
Ooh, I gotta look it up.
Yeah, it's the one where Craig said, like, literally, Bitcoin is everything.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's like a really small clip. We've used it on one of our intros, and it was from Dale's interview, where he said,
it's amazing if you watch that and you in the context of today and realize that he said that, what is it, 8 years ago now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surreal, really.
Yeah.
And she was asking him about, the Australian sort of influence in Bitcoin, and he came over all a bit sort of self-conscious, didn't he? And you could see at that point he was trying very hard not to sort of let the cat out the bag that he was Satoshi, I think.
Yeah, you can. I mean, knowing Craig much better as we do now, he wanted to.
Yeah.
He was really bursting, thinking,
yeah, must have been
the things I could tell you.
Exactly, yeah. Well, so what do you see happening for Bitcoin over the coming year? What directions excite you about Bitcoin at the minute?
Well, I'll have to preface that by saying my predictions are almost always wrong.
Yeah.
in Bitcoin and any kind of blockchain or crypto. So,
well, at least you're consistent.
That's true. I'm consistently wrong. I've even bet against myself and made money.
So what about the Bitcoin Bridge then? Like, I mean, I think most people probably know and probably watch Bitcoin Bridge, but how many shows do you do? Do you do, like, is it weekly? Is it one a week? What's your kind of schedule? And how does that kind of work? Because obviously you're in Japan, so you do a lot of interviews with people. So what's your kind of,
last year it was every week. And was supposed to be the thing, but we were finding at Coingeek we were doing too many shows, and we we're starting to run out of people to talk to.
Okay, so do you think we might come across the same problem?
Yeah, probably.
Have to cycle back around.
No. Yeah, we just talk about different
One
things.
every fortnight.
Yeah. Well, if it continues to grow, I mean, there should be still plenty of people coming in, and I mean, there is enough to do a weekly show. It's just that if you're working for the same organization and you've got 5 different shows, and everyone does the circuit, you'll see them appear on Kurt's show, and then they'll get interviewed by Charles, and maybe by Becky, then me. So it's
Then us.
kind of hard coming up with that different angle.
If you
each
can
time.
bang 'em.
Yeah.
But the
So what-
repetition is important because it's complex ideas as well. So every time you see the same person on different interviews, it
No, it's a
helps.
good point.
Helps
It
to
does
have that
help.
review
Yeah,
of what they're doing.
consolidate. Yeah.
And different people bring out different aspects and sides of a person as well. So different questions being asked all the time. I'm interested to know what the BSV community is like at the moment in Japan. Is it quite a wide-reaching community? Is there a lot more that needs to be done? Are there many people in Japan that speak Japanese that can convey the message of BSV?
It's growing, but very slowly. The main barrier is, of course, you can't actually buy or sell BSV in Japan. They regulated all the exchanges here a long time ago, and they were really strict about it. They said we're only going to approve a certain number of cryptocurrencies that you can trade. And originally it was just 8. I don't know how they picked them, because like one of them was Ethereum Classic and one was Monacoin. I think they chose that because it's a native Japanese one, and Bitcoin Cash, and they stuck with them for a while. I think the list is much broader now, but the regulator here, the FSA, they still haven't approved BSV.
Wow.
And is that something that are they looking at that? Is it something that might be in the future? Or is it a definite no, that's not happening?
I mean, I hope it happens. If it doesn't happen, it's probably going to be a problem, because I know that people in BSV would really love to see it approved here.
Yeah.
Until it gets approved, it can't be listed on any exchanges in Japan. I mean, Japanese people are free to use foreign exchanges if they want. They're not blocked or anything. But
it definitely stifles the development in that country, presumably. It means you don't have a lot of people wanting to do startups in BSV.
Yeah, I was going to say, so are there any BSV meetups in Japan, and businesses can't really then look at using BSV to work with then if it's not been approved in any way whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, any business that just runs on the BSV blockchain, and you might have to spend a few dollars or something just to use it. I mean, there's Note.sv off the top of my head. A couple of others as well, but I mean, just anything that you can't trade between BSV and Japanese yen. I mean, anything else is fine. You can use BSV if you want. There's no law against that. You just can't trade it for yen.
Because they're a big gaming culture as well, aren't they, in Japan? So, I mean, how's Crypto Fighters doing? Are you using Crypto Fighters? Because I think I saw a tweet where you said about it would be great if you could get Juro Dogs and Crypto Fights merged together, so you can have
I want to see that.
dogs fighting.
I want to fight my own dog in Crypto Fight.
Look at
They're
the
too cute, though, aren't they, for the crypto scenario?
Yeah, I mean, we've been being
I love Crypto Fights. Yeah, I've looked at that. I wouldn't call myself a serious player.
Encourage dog fighting, guys.
Well, yeah, true.
Virtual cartoon dog.
Bad.
Do you think Crypto Fights might be something that would catch on in Japan with it? Because it's a great game and it looks beautiful and it's stunning, and obviously it's using the gaming engine is using BSV technology. It's a big gaming culture. So do you think that might be something that could actually work over in Japan to get more people interested?
The market here is big enough for anything. I mean, if you want to go into the Japanese market, you pretty much have to translate everything into Japanese. No, people here are not going to use it any other way. Like even Facebook took a while to catch on here for that reason. I mean, you're pretty much translating everything, and it's got to be really good too. Like, it can't be crappy translation.
Well, I mean, what's the population of Japan? What are the figures?
130 million or something.
That's a fair amount of
Good
people.
God, really?
Yeah.
That's twice the size of the UK. I didn't realise it's so big.
How many in Tokyo?
20 million.
Yeah, it depends where you stop counting. Like, if it's just the Tokyo government area, I think it's only about 8 or 9 million or something. But if you were to like take a train and find the edge of the city, where the city meets the countryside, I think it's about 40 million in that area too.
Yeah,
yes. And you mentioned taking a train. So I wanted to ask you about big data applications that you could see around in your neighborhood. Since you live there in Tokyo, how could you see Bitcoin being used in a big data capacity, whether it's with trains or anything you can think of?
I guess the thing that springs to mind most would just be retail.
How do you mean?
You just mean like just cash basis and not actually using it as a kind of accounting
commodity ledger
or anything?
Well, you're talking big data, right? So it's not just spending money; it's gathering information on people's habits. Where they go, how far they go, what they're going to be spending on in each area, that kind of thing. People still use cash here a lot, so they're a bit behind in that sense.
Are they? I'm intrigued by that. I would have thought that they'd have gone digital long ago in Tokyo. That's how I'd imagine it, anyway.
I mean, that exists. It's funny, we've had a much better sort of digital cash card system here, since the early 2000s. When in Australia they were only getting it about 10 years ago or something, and it doesn't work like everything else in Australia. But it works fine here. Nobody uses it.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say it was a pleasure to actually finally meet you. I have to run.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming. Going to have a social Bitcoin web planning meeting now, so we'll be in touch for you to help us get that over to Japan and stuff as soon as that's available too. So many blessings. Thank you so much.
You.
Have a good week.
Say hi to Ryan for me.
I will. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
See you later.
Have a good day. Obviously you're saying about everything needs to be translated. So do your Coingeek articles get translated into Japanese at the moment? Or is
Not
that something
Japanese, I think. They do Chinese and German, I think, at the moment.
Okay. So do you think that would help? I mean, if they were translated into Japanese, obviously you're going to be able to reach an audience that you currently can't get to. So what's the reason that doesn't happen at the moment?
Again, it's just like to translate all of that stuff, you got to invest a fair bit of resource and money into it. So it's when it becomes worthwhile, we'll do it. Sure.
Okay.
It's a real chicken and egg thing, because to get approved by the FSA, the regulator, there's got to be demand from the exchanges, and
that's not really happening anywhere at the minute
because there is no exchange. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of big Japanese exchanges, and they do huge volumes. So, I mean, if BSV could get listed on a Japanese exchange, that'd be big news.
Well, maybe after Craig Wright's cases this year, the COPA stuff, maybe that's going to, force the hand of some of these exchanges. Maybe so.
Yeah, at the start of 2020, they were going to do a big push into Japan, and Craig Wright was actually here, and there's still a few people here, like Jared Chan lives here in Tokyo, and he's
cool
guy.
So really, then there's only there's like the two of you which are a BSV, or there's a few, like a handful of people.
There's a lot of other sort of lurkers. You might not know who they are, but they all know each other. Yeah, they're around.
Because it's Satoshi Nakamoto, so Satoshi Nakamoto is a Japanese pseudonym. So I'm quite surprised that it's not more widely known about.
They haven't embraced him a bit, more.
Well, I mean, who outside of BSB has embrace Craig Wright as Satoshi Nakamoto
True.
at the moment.
True. Yeah.
One day they all will, but be honest, it hasn't happened yet. Out in the mainstream, I mean, they still think Satoshi Nakamoto, Bitcoin is BTC, so they're well aware of that.
That's a big hurdle to jump over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, that hitting the brick wall every time because of the cognitive dissonance that is the fact that, well, actually, no, BTC isn't Bitcoin, but it works. Well, no, it doesn't actually work because it's on a, it's a like, for example, in El Salvador, it's not even the the Bitcoin blockchain they're using, is it? It's a different blockchain they're using to be able to do the transactions, which actually it just doesn't make any sense at all. So, and the amount of problems there have been with the Chivo wallet is, I mean, I see them quite a lot on Twitter floating around. Yeah, well, it didn't work. This transaction didn't work. I had to pay cash. This transaction didn't work. My money's lost. We've lost our money. We don't know where it's gone. It's not even the BTC blockchain that they're using. What's the point then? I don't get it.
It's a meme, isn't it? That's the thing. Basically, I mean, I think the world's a big place. I mean, it's hard for anything to break through to the entire world, isn't it? Simultaneously. Yeah. So we just got to keep plugging away at it, I think.
Yes, and one strength, John, is your writing. I find that when I see Jon Southurst, I'm going to compliment you. So just hold tight there for a minute. When it's a Jon Southurst article, I feel excited because I think, this is one I could actually share. Because it's coherent. I can understand it easily. It's something that would anyone could read and follow along. And so I feel really excited when I see your articles and I read them. And I wonder about your writing style. I know you were going to say something and I interrupted, but I also would love to know about how you work as a writer.
Extremely haphazardly.
Okay, good.
Recently I do most of my writing at about 2:00 in the morning. So you'll notice the sentence length gets longer and longer the later you stay up.
Yeah,
I wrote a sentence last night. It was 6 lines long. I'm like, geez, I can't submit that.
Oh, dear. That sounds like my kids. I just go through just like putting full stops in their work. Basically.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but I get I'm a real, I am a kind of night person, and I get more inspiration at night than I do during the day. Definitely, the thing I get during the day is the sunshine, which is great.
Yeah.
And, but nighttime I do find is better for creative pursuits in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I always say, write late at night, edit in the early morning.
Yeah, that's good.
That's supposed to be the rule.
Mm.
But yeah,
that's a good point.
Sentences get longer. That's how it goes.
Have you got any advice for anybody that's wanting to get into journalism or any?
Yeah, don't do it. You'll make no money. It's totally thankless.
Yeah.
And Rory's the first person who ever actually noticed the byline on my articles. I do appreciate that, Rory. Thank you so
much. Wow, you're welcome.
Yeah,
no, I've got to agree. I love your articles, John, and I do find them very, very readable. And I agree with
I like your shows.
They're often funny as well.
I really like your style of presentation. I love
like
it.
yours too, Diddy.
Oh, thank you, John. I've been learning off you. Serious.
No, I mean, I like. There's no one I don't like. In doing a show in BSV. I wish Satoshi would show his face more, but he's not into that. That's the only criticism I've got. Everyone else I think is doing a fantastic job. Whenever I watch someone else's show, I'm like, damn, they know so much more about it than me.
No, I always feel that way.
That's true.
Yeah,
right.
That's why I keep my shows really short because I just ran out of things to say.
There is so much to learn still, though, when it comes to BSV technology and even just the history of it, and still the fundamentals and the economics behind it and everything. I mean, you get to a point where you think, oh, I've got it now, and then something else drops in, and it's like, okay, no, I now need to go and learn a whole new. Especially when Craig said about his Turing complete.
Oh, new lexicon.
Okay, well, okay, now I need to go and find out how that all works, and then in the S script side of things. So, it's mind.
It continues to get deeper and more complex, doesn't it? Like the longer it goes on, it's like, shit, there's like 5 more.
You've got law, you've got history, culture, everything, and all of those are huge kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Disciplines themselves anyway. So
which is why you understand that Satoshi would have had to have been interested in all of those things.
Yeah.
How could it be anyone but Craig? Exactly.
Yeah.
And do you ever feel like drawn in by the idea of entrepreneurship? Do you ever get tempted to involve yourself in a new startup or anything like that? You've not been drawn in by that idea yet?
Not really. I totally suck at business and anything to do with managing people or money. If I ever do start a business, it'll be just me working there. Like I don't want to be responsible for employees anymore.
Oh, but you don't have to be. I mean, you can be an entrepreneur, I think, and leave that side of things to other people.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to work at your own speed, your own pace, in your own time, around your own schedule. There's nothing, there is a lot to be said for that freedom in that respect.
I guess being a reporter is as close as you can get to that without actually doing business yourself. So that's probably why I have that lifestyle.
Self-starter. Mm-hmm.
What drives you?
Greasy noodles.
Mortgage, probably, like everyone else.
I don't know. I do find this fascinating because I was reporting on Bitcoin since 2012 or 13 or something, and a few years after that, it got really dull. Like there had been like 1 or 2 bear markets. The forks hadn't happened yet. There was nothing happening. It was basically
you're right. 2013 to 2017, like a lull. Like you could go away and come back and not have missed anything.
Yeah. And people had stopped talking about all of the things that made Bitcoin interesting in the first place. Which is basically all the things people in BSV talk about. People like Daniel Krawitz, who I used to love reading Daniel Krawitz's stuff in the very early days of Bitcoin. And the deeper philosophical issues and the economic history and that kind of thing. And I used to love that. Actually got pretty excited when I saw he was a BSV guy too, because I got to start it all over again. But these conversations kind of happen in BSV all the time. You're talking about what's the moral case for Bitcoin, what's the moral case against Bitcoin, and the different aspects of all the different blockchains, that kind of thing. And I think it's just fascinating that we can talk about that kind of stuff again, and people care about that again. It's not just like trading.
It's not just about what gains you can make. Yeah.
Is that what makes it boring for you?
Trading, like NFTs, I can appreciate that other people are really into it and they make a lot of money doing it, but it's just not my thing.
So I got another question: is your son going to kind of follow you into the journalism seat, or is that something that you're going to like make sure that he doesn't get into? Because he did do a very good little presentation a couple of weeks, it's months ago now, isn't it? When there was a little video floating around of him in your studio.
I mean, he watches game streamers all the time, all day, every day on YouTube, and I know deep down he wants to be one of those people.
Well,
Does he play crypto fights then? Is that something that you've got?
I can't get him to play anything other than what?
Fortnite. Roblox or something.
Fortnite. I was wondering.
Yeah. Roblox and Fortnite.
Minecraft.
He's all about it. What do you play? Do you play games?
I've played Roblox.
You have?
I can't get into Fortnite because it's just a first-person shooter game.
What do you think about the virtual concerts? Because was it Roblox that had Marshmallow, like the first virtual concert?
What?
I know. Marshmallow.
Marshmallow is a DJ, and I know. I'm sure it's Roblox. Like literally,
I'm familiar with a bit of
Minecraft.
Roblox.
He had a Minecraft concert.
Virtual concert, and it was in game, and it was a virtual concert. And it was the first one of its kind. I'm sure it was.
Maybe.
And like since then, there were other. Like I know that. Oh God. Oh. Can't think of his name.
Gorillas?
No, tattoos. Oh God, Post Malone. Post Malone also did one. So is that kind of? I mean, how do you feel about that? Because that's kind of metaverse-ish. Is where that idea is. So how do you see that? Like MetaNet is different from metaverse. MetaNet to me is the internet, but on steroids, on Bitcoin, done properly. And metaverse to me is the in-game, like the virtual concerts, but that's kind of not where they're wanting to take it, which it doesn't agree. So what I'm interested to know what you think about that, both of them, MetaNet and metaverse.
Sure. Well, I mean, MetaNet is just a technology. You don't really see that unless you're developing for it. Of course, I think it's great. I'm interested in like being able to have domain name registries on the MetaNet, and actually host content on it. Like the B network and that kind of thing. I think that'll be great if we can take off. I know we don't like to talk about censorship-resistant currencies, but I think a censorship-resistant internet and domain name system would be a great idea. So if we could do that. As for the metaverse, sure, yeah, I'd be into that. I have these mixed feelings about virtual reality. I think it's both utopian and dystopian at the same time.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same, because for me, I'm kind of quite disabled, so it would be quite a useful thing for me because I can't walk very far. But I was watching a video on Twitter this morning of this virtual supermarket and this virtual assistant. You remember the paperclip, the Microsoft paperclip? It's like a woman version of that going, "Oh, you've got a gallon of milk in the fridge. Put this gallon of milk back on the shelf." And you're thinking, "Sod off, lady."
I know. Well, I noticed the point at the moment that nobody has any legs. It's just literally
it's just the top
body. There are no legs. Legs do not exist at the moment. But yeah, I thought the same thing. It's like, how dare you tell me that I can't have an extra gallon of milk in my shopping cart? I might want to make some cakes or something, or some,
There's something really quite disturbing about it, isn't there?
But I mean, the thing with Japan is they are really ahead with technology. I mean, you've got robots in Japan, right? Yeah, there's a big, so. MetaNet, how you were describing it, is kind of SPW, which was what Ryan was on about social Bitcoin web. That's how I see that. But metaverse, I kind of that again is something completely different. But then the robot side of things and artificial intelligence side of things again is something else. So how do you see kind of sort of robots, artificial intelligence merging with, say, metaverse or MetaNet SBW? I'm coming out with acronyms now.
Just make it up now.
In the scene.
Oh wow! I mean, being neither a programmer nor a developer or entrepreneur there, I sort of look to other people to see where that's all going. I mean, any application that sort of uses, processes, stores a large amount of data, it can be done on the MetaNet. With the difference between that and the internet being that it's all sort of timestamped and verifiable that kind of thing. That's not very exciting from a robotics perspective, I know. But yeah, what I mean is that any technology that they're proposing that will come into our lives soon could also be done on the metanet in a much more trustworthy way. So yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, because you would be able
think...
to sort of pay robots probably to do a task or something, but with using BSV technology.
Yes, you could. I mean, we don't really have robots like that just yet. It's I mean, it's all coming. I'm a little bit terrified by what it could, how automated our future is going to be. To be honest, I mean, it'd be great if I could just go down and swipe a card into an automated taxi and just drive to wherever I'm going.
But would it though? Would it though?
Yeah, it doesn't really enrich my life.
No, personally, I don't like that idea. They're actually in Wales over here. They're actually testing like automated cars. It's like literally, those little kind of bubbles where it's one person gets into a car, but somebody else. And this is what really got me about this is you are the passenger. The car comes to you. There's no driver, but the driver is in some office room somewhere with control, driving the car and steering it, but you have no control whatsoever over the car.
Yeah,
so I can't get my head around.
I can't either. Why would you trust some guy in India or something with a joystick who might be getting drunk whilst he's doing it?
We have trains like that here in Japan.
Do you? What do you mean?
Oh, just a train without a driver. It's just automated.
Oh,
well, they have a driver, but
it's on
tracks. At least they're on rails, so yeah. I mean,
remote.
Yeah, but the train is on a track, and it follows the track. These cars are literally on the open road
in Wales. This sounds like a very bad idea.
The common denominator is people.
Yes,
because people are doing it all.
To be completely frank with you, I've been kind of down on technology the last year or two. I used to be a real techno fetishist, and that's sort of how I got into tech reporting and that kind of thing, and that's how I found out about Bitcoin. But yeah, the past couple of years, I've really started to think, is this really where we want to be going? I mean, it just seems to be removing so much of the human element out of life. And
do you think the BSVs are going to be the new neo-Luddites? Do you know what I mean? Because I just know, but I do wonder sometimes, like, it's like we're waking up out of a dream, we're going, hang on a minute, this isn't all good. Like, 70% of this is good, but 30% of this is definitely not good. At some point, we're going to start picking and choosing between them.
They definitely question it more than other crypto people.
Yeah. I like the idea of going backwards. I very much like the outdoors and stuff, and I like being outdoors and things. So I do kind of get very worried. I like to be physical. I like to do the work I used to do is physical. So I do get quite worried about certain things being overtaken by robots, which is trying to make people obsolete when actually people can still do the jobs. It's just that, for example, I'm going to say, Amazon, their warehouses are full of robots instead of people.
But they have to have people. It's an illusion to say that the robots are anywhere near ready to take over anything.
No,
it's people run everything.
But then, don't you think that, like with COVID, as all being sort of siloed in our own individual homes, has brought it home to us that actually we do need connection, we do need real world connection, and that this is great that we're having this conversation. It's amazing. You couldn't have done this 20 years ago. But like, do we want to be sort of trapped in our homes?
Yeah. Do you actually want to?
And we don't have legs either, Diddy.
No, exactly.
I know mine are pretty crap, but like,
you don't need legs.
No. Do you actually want to go to Walmart and do your shopping in the metaverse instead of actually
going? Not really. Like, I want to.
I'd be up for it. Yeah.
No,
or H&M. Yeah.
I don't want these things to be virtual.
My shopping is on Amazon.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, like, I do a lot of shopping online as well, but there's nothing, you can't actually beat going physically into a shop and picking up an item
Exactly.
and
Not for avocados.
Okay, looking at the sell by date, oh well, that's gone past.
No, I'm okay. I can live without that. But what I don't want is for somebody to mock up a bloody 3D supermarket for me. Like if I'm not going to go to the supermarket, I want all the advantages of not going to the bloody supermarket.
Oh, I see
I
what
don't
you
want
mean.
it recreated.
That's a valid point.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly right. Just
I don't know.
I'm like, well, what's wrong with Amazon interface? Why can't I just pick it out of a box instead of like having to walk down a stupid virtual aisle and talk to a virtual assistant? And
Yeah.
Get
out my face, robot woman.
Yeah, but I don't think it's actually going to be like that. I mean, that's just
probably not.
You know how when iPhones first came
Coupons.
out and like the Books app actually looked like a wooden bookshelf and
Oh,
I
did,
loved it when it
those
looked
music
like
apps
that.
with dials on them.
Nice.
Skeuomorphic design, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like it, some people hate it, but it was just sort of a transitory thing. It was just to get people used to
the transition,
digitally that they'd previously done physically.
When you consider, I mean, the phones haven't changed that much in look or design. It's just literally what they're capable of being able to do. So it's just the apps. So it is, it's down to the developers I mean, the phone, it's just more powerful. That's all.
But there was a real revolt against that sort of interface. And I think the same thing will happen with your virtual supermarkets. After a year or two of walking down virtual aisles and picking up virtual wine bottles, people are going to say this is dumb.
Yeah,
and it'll
transition.
Like a tag.
Convenience.
Yeah,
be the easiest. Now, we all saw Jimmy at CES, remember? And he was holding the apple.
Oh yeah.
And then it made the 3D replica, right? So that's something that is happening. And I feel a little bit nervous to do that, but I like watching other people that are wanting to do that.
I agree. This concept of a digital twin is a bit creepy.
Yes. So what I'm thinking in a positive way is that you could use that to then select items that would fit you. So if you're to go into a clothing store and you have your digital twin already saved in the ID or the NFT, then you could choose colors, have the whole color scheme, which colors are suitable for you, and then match that based on what products are currently available and picking out the right size. Things like that might be really good. I know that when I go into large shopping malls, I get sensory overload and leave. So I end up not really shopping, except sometimes I have been successful shopping, but usually it's just everything is everywhere. And I just think I got to get out of here.
You know what though, Rory? It's bad enough going to shop and seeing yourself in a mirror with those horrible downlights and stuff. But can you imagine seeing a 3D model version of yourself spinning and fitting clothes to it? I'd be traumatized by that.
You don't have to look at it.
Nobody needs.
It just has to be accurate.
In the film,
but an accurate 3D model of myself is not.
But in the film industry, they've been doing this for years. This is what special effects is all about. And in the film industry, they have been doing this for years. So I've got 3D models of myself, which were in Victoria and in Jericho for crowd scenes and stuff.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So the process there is, though, that I would stand in front of a camera with a green screen behind me, and they take a still photograph of the front of you and both sides and the back. It's a bit like when you have your profile done at the, police profile, but they take it and you have to have your arms out and that, and they would take several photos of you, and then they would stitch the photos together, and then they would model them in the 3D modeling. So for me, that process of just actually standing and letting the machine do it for you has taken away about 3-4 weeks worth of work of modeling characters. So for the film industry, this is something they've been using for ages and ages.
Does that mean you lose 3 or 4 weeks pay you would have got otherwise if you had to be there every day?
No, I mean, I still do my acting side. I mean, This is one of the things about the film industry is I like literally I would still carry on acting in the show doing what I need to be doing, while the special effects guys are over in their studio and they're modeling the characters and then they're slotting them into crowd scenes. So literally in Victoria, there was like about 100 of me. There was a big crowd scene basically where Victoria based on Queen Victoria, and it was Jenna, I can't remember her name at the minute, it was ages ago. She was in Doctor Who. She played Clara in Doctor Who. She played Victoria.
She was very good in it. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
There was a scene where she's in a carriage basically, but there's a crowd in London, so of hundreds and hundreds of people. So it was like, thousands of people watching. So literally it was to take a model of me dressed in 1800s costume and then just plunk that model into these crowd scenes, which are then superimposed, and the special effects are they use, instead of paying,
you're destroying the magic, Diddy. You're destroying the magic of it.
This is what I do. But instead of paying hundreds of thousands of extras or people to be, then that's what they do, and they do that quite so. Like with the Lord of the Rings, Gollum, etc. That's a 3D model, but there is an actual guy in a green screen suit in
with
a
spots all over him.
And that's how they do the special effects. So, but with them being
that's
more
what computers are really good at.
Yeah, so, with them being more realistic, one of the things about the film industry is that actors are going to become obsolete because the effects now are so realistic that you
they
can't
can even
tell.
model the voice now, can't they?
Yeah, with deepfake videos as well, you can't tell the difference between the real and the actual model. So this is something that fascinates me because
they've got you on file. So if you ever see
so Diddy's basically Agent Smith from the Matrix.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, like that scene in the Matrix where
turn around and everyone turns into Diddy.
Agent Smith.
As long as it's 1800s. It was 1850 for Jericho and 1830 for Victoria, or 1850 for Victoria. So as long as it's an 1800s model, you've got no problem whatsoever jumping into the future. But that's what they do. So I can see a real use case for that particular item. Definitely.
But then the dystopian picture of it is that we all have this digital version of ourselves, and then we're restricted from actually going out into the world and actually going to visit places. And I'd love to go to Japan before I die, but it's looking less and less likely as time goes on. Maybe my digital twin will get to go to Tokyo, but I won't. It's.
Yeah, I'll be walking around Shibuya with holographic Ruth.
This is the thing, isn't it? It's like holograms. Obviously in China they do holographic displays quite a lot, and they're amazing. Some of them. So does that happen over in Tokyo? Have you got do they do special events where they've got holograms that are performing?
I haven't seen a true hologram. I don't know if such a thing even exists, the way it was sort of explained to us in the 80s, or if it's all done with trickery.
Oh, you think it might be just
post-production effects, sort of.
Yeah, what's the name of that ghost effect I saw it just the other day at Disneyland? The one where they make the ghosts.
Oh, they're making like the mirror that's you can see through the mirror, but it's projecting it next to the chair.
But then they did a concert with there was Michael Jackson, they did a Freddie Mercury, and they did Tupac as holograms for concerts.
But that was using that sort of ghost technology effect, which has been around for quite a while.
Which is 2D.
It's advanced.
I think it's just having a model like on the horizontal and then kind of projecting it up on the vertical, isn't it?
Yeah, it appears 3D.
But it's not a true hologram.
So in reality, we're 20 years away from that still, or do you think maybe a couple of years away from?
Away from what? Full virtual reality
holograms?
Or
like
holograms?
Star Wars chessboard.
Like I know I was reading something. I can't remember when it was. I was reading it, but for teleportation, they have actually teleported an organic substance like an apple. And they did
Willy Wonka.
you know,
I'm
they
staying
try to
right away from anything that
teleport.
teleports me. I'm not touching that. If they invent teleportation, I hope it's after I'm dead, because I do not.
Yeah,
want to
didn't they say, like, if they do that, they're basically, you know,
It didn't quite work.
dematerializing you and rematerializing you, so you're essentially not the same person as you were.
That,
You know,
This
that's the problem, right?
you never know, and nobody else ever
Yeah.
knows either, because to everyone else it looks like you're the same you,
Yeah.
and to the new you, it feels like the same you.
Yeah.
But every time you step into the teleporter, you die,
Yeah.
and nobody knows, because no one ever finds
Mhm.
out that this happens, because no one's everyone who experiences it is dead,
Were you a Star
and the
Trek fan?
new one just takes over.
This conversation's taking a turn.
Oh, when this special effects, you said. Were you a Star Trek fan?
I like it. I wasn't a huge fan. It was when I was reading Altered Carbon. I think I actually made that into a TV show, which was not bad.
Oh,
That's
Yeah, I've made
yeah,
recollection of
that's
that.
a sort of a cyberpunk story about people who can teleport from place to place, and they can, it's like their digital soul is contained in a little cylinder in the back of their neck, and so you can switch bodies and all the political and social issues that go with that. It's actually really good. It's probably the best take on that kind of technology that I've read. And I think that there was a part in that where they were saying that if you teleport from one side of the galaxy to the other, it's not actually the same you that comes out the other end, but nobody knows, and the new you doesn't know either.
Is that problematic? Yeah.
It's like a Rick and Morty episode. Yeah.
It didn't seem to think it was. I think it's extremely problematic.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now, how about automatons, because you're there in Tokyo. So that is an ancient tradition as well. The little robotics. It's like analog robotics.
How do you mean? Oh, you mean like the little mechanical, like that can ride bicycles and things like that?
Do you see a lot of those in shops?
Or
lots of robots in general?
I don't think Japan is as robot obsessed as people think it is. I mean, they do have some pretty cool robots. Like there was the Honda Asimo robot and the Sony robots, and those the ones they call Pepper that sort of roll around shop floors with the touch screen on them. They're all cute, but
Pepper?
It's more than we've got.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Have you ever seen the Pepper robot? It's
Pepper? No.
I mean, it's really adorable. It's just, I mean, it's designed to be cute.
Is it PEPPE?
They were designed to be like shop assistant robots.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, I've seen that. Yeah, they are quite cute. Yeah.
But they don't really do anything that a person.
Yeah, but they've got these things that are kind of trailing as like old person companions and things, aren't they now? But I think most old people are like, get away from me.
Could you imagine that being an old person?
Freaky thing.
Robot looking. Oh, maybe you'd like that.
I will give you a hug.
Well, there was a program over here, and basically it was humanized robots, i.e. like the Sophia robot with the flubber skin thing. And they were specifically for companions for older people, like carers instead. So they got rid of care workers and they had AI that was the carer.
Troubling, very, very troubling.
Yeah. There is another one I want to ask you about, because I like giants, and I saw this clip a while ago, and it was so good. I was like, wow, no. But it was from a film called Big Man Japan. Have you seen it? Have you seen Big Man Japan?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
It's like there's a clip on the internet, and it was so funny because there were so many people like, oh my god, giants are real. There was a giant in Japan, and it was a film special effect, but the giant was like 25 foot or something. But the visual graphics of it were amazing.
Well, they love giant robots here.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, like wait a minute. What was the Transformers? Was that a Japanese thing?
You've got Godzilla, haven't you? It's classic.
Is Godzilla Japanese? I used to love Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla's Japanese, yeah. He's not a robot, though.
No.
There was a Mecha Godzilla. But there is, I think Gundams is the one people were thinking of when they think of Transformers.
I don't know what
Gundams.
that is.
And, they look like Transformers, but yeah, it's
Oh
just
yeah.
a giant robot kind of thing. There's actually a life-size statue of one just at a shopping mall across from here.
This
Everyone
looks a
got-
bit like Unicron.
Is it does it come from like, you know, mythology and history? Is this where these, you know, like Godzilla, you know, I mean, is that an ancient Japanese kind of mythology?
I don't want to say too much here because I could get beaten up by
Okay.
otakus and other nerds who actually do know the lore, and
Yeah.
Elements of it are. I don't know if it's completely based on it. You have more modern ones. You know, do you know Evangelion?
No.
No, sounds
right.
cool.
That was
How's it felt?
they used to show that on TV in Australia. It kind of went overseas for a while. It was about 20 years ago. It was another sort of giant robot one. It's one of the ones where you're training the humans to pilot the robots, and you have to have like special emotional and mental qualities to be able to pilot them, that kind of thing.
Okay.
If you've seen the movie Pacific Rim, it's a sort of similar thing.
Right, yeah. Yes, actually, I have seen that. And that's why I was wondering about if you've seen Big Man Japan, because there is, like, you know, past ancient history, you know, giants, etc. There's a lot of stories all over the world about giants and things. So
That's right, yeah.
Seen it. I recommend you watch it. It's very good.
Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen it, because I do remember like reading about it when it first came out, but I never saw it myself.
And I'm being a bit silly, but also sincere. What do you think about Captain Planet?
What's that?
Do you remember that show, Captain Planet? They had all the superpowers, and one of them was heart.
All right, tell me
Yeah.
more. I don't think I've seen. I've heard the name, but I don't really know it.
They were a team, and they would go out and have battles and save the day. And they all had different powers, different skills. And then Captain Planet would say, "With our powers combined, we are Captain Planet." And it was just a kind of cute show that was on for a minute.
Was it Japanese or was it from somewhere else?
No, I think it was American.
Right.
But it's kind of embarrassing for me to bring up. Like, people would probably say that's so cheesy, but I really loved it. And they would all kind of put their hands together and be like, "Yeah, woohoo, we are Captain
I
Planet."
tell you what it is, Rory. Like, you're a bit younger, and we're all Gen
Yes.
X.
Okay, yes.
I mean, what I remember from my childhood was like Monkey. Did you ever see Monkey in Australia? I don't know whether that got there.
Did we see Monkey in Australia? Oh, that show had a massive cult following in Australia.
Yeah.
Monkey is Chinese, so it's not Japanese.
No, I know. But like, you know, thinking back to when I was a kid.
But the story's Chinese, yeah.
And we had Battle of the Planets as well. Was the kind of sort of anime from when I was a kid. I don't know. It's probably just an English thing there, but it looked like Japanese anime anyway.
One day we'll do another whole show where we just talk about
no.
Yes, exactly.
Well, look, we should be
jokes in BSV. No one gets them.
No.
Well, I just want one more thing, because in August of last year there was a massive hack, wasn't there? Like 100 million in Japan, like a crypto heist. Did you know anything about that, like Liquid Exchange or something?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I was actually just talking to someone about this before we came on the show. I don't want to say too much because I actually know the guys who run that company.
Oh, okay.
I haven't spoken to them about it in detail.
I just know there was a lot of money kind of hacked. Yeah, $100 million, I think it was.
We were actually having that conversation right before the show. It was just like, yeah, what happened to that big hack that was supposed to have happened? I don't know.
Wasn't that a BTC Core company, Liquid?
They're an exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Liquid Network. It's actually a company called Liquid.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I didn't.
They're an exchange in Japan. They've actually been around for a long time, and they've been pretty good. But apparently they got hacked, and we were just talking about how we didn't really read much about it. But I don't know any details on it.
it was something to do with the Poly network. I think they got like hardest hit or something. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know many. I just wondered if you'd heard about it. Obviously, being over there, so yes, you have. Is the answer?
There's been so many Japanese exchanges get hacked. It's actually kind of terrible when you think about Mt. Gox being the famous one and everything, and others. If you look at the dollar value at the time it was stolen, it was probably a lot more, and yet no one cares because it's just altcoins and stuff.
Well, look, I'm just thinking maybe we should wind up because we've been going for like an hour and 40, and I don't know what time of night it is there, John, but I'm guessing it's pretty late.
Yeah, it's coming up on 1 o'clock.
Right, so okay.
Thank you so much for your time, John.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on. I'm very on. This is the first show that I've ever been on that wasn't mine.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah,
more people should ask you as a guest because you are highly interesting.
You're like the OG's OG.
Flatter me too much.
You are an OG, very much so.
Yes, and we can't wait to continue the conversation with you, John. So come back soon.
We will. I'd like to see more of these sort of general chat. We used to dip in and out of Bitcoin, BSV. You don't talk about BSV all the time because I think we all do enough of that. So it's good to get to know what people like outside of that.
We do go off on some tangents, or at least I know
we
I
really bloody do, yeah. But
to the best
do you like it or not?
We enjoy ourselves, yeah. Anyhow, thank you so much, John. We really appreciate you and everything you do in the space because, like, apart from anything else, when we can't get to a conference, I always turn to your tweets on the subject because you always make me laugh and make me feel like I'm there even though I'm not. Even though a lot of the time you're not there either. But anyway, long may you continue to entertain us. And thanks
from my living room.
Yes.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Jan.
Bye.
Thank you.